Welcome, everyone. My name is Sean Everhart. I'm the partner manager here at Veeam in the Bay Area. Been at Veeam for about 18 months. Spent time at NetApp, Red Hat, Oracle. It's kind of my background. And then the esteemed Mitch Livingstone over here working with me. So basically what we're going to talk about today is, think about data, right? Everyone, especially with, there's just so many silos of data, data's everywhere. So, one of the things I like to do, you can't move forward unless you know where you're at today. So where are you today? Where's the vision of where you want to be? How can we help? And then any questions in regards to what we're doing. So Mitch and I kind of put this together, and I live in Oakland and am very involved with what's kind of going on up there. One of the things that I've seen over the last probably year since I've been working is the inefficiencies of what's going on. I tried to book a park for a picnic we put on in our community, and it was an act of Congress to get it done. I had to call my council person because no one would get back to me, things like that. So multiple silos, you have manual processes that aren't connected to any digitized version. And because of that, you have people in, the policy side who are making decisions that they don't have the data. They're making decisions purely on, hey, this is what we're going to do, not, hey, here's what the data is showing and how we can help you as the citizenry. You also, because of that, and I don't know how many, I assume a lot of you are kind of on that the IT side doing break fix stuff. Like you're just Saturday at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're like, hey, our network's down. Great, let me be there in 2 minutes. So there's that piece to it. And then the other thing is, because of all these different applications that are out there, I'm sure that, I'm curious in the room, what's the oldest application you have running that you're supporting today? 25, 30 years old? Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking those, the holes that are in that from a security standpoint. Like I think about the reason the Oakland attack, the way they got in, I think it was Play Ransom was the group that hit them, and they got in, and part of their main attack is with a COBOL bug. So they attacked that, filtered out, and shut down everything. So that's just, so here there's that, how do we digitize that? How do we change it to be better for the future? So at the end of the day, it's just being able to scale, being able to have those lower costs, and be able to leverage the technology to do what you want to do for the citizens. So, makes sense? Any questions on that? All right. So, the good governmental stewards, and the reason I focus more on the government is because just of what's been going on in the industry and in the news right now. The fact, I mentioned the park example, just getting a clubhouse at a park set. Simple engagement, and I'm fairly technical and know how to use technology. Like I run the website for my HOA, we do all these different things. And getting anything done in Oakland, you're just like, man, this is built in 1999, like with GeoCities or something like that. And there's that piece to it. The other thing is really, I know especially when you're in a certain aspect, budgets are obviously challenging to get, challenging to put that piece, and with that data being able to have, hey, we've identified an additional revenue stream. Maybe we can go out there and say, okay, we found public works, for example, being able to go in there, hey, we're going to fix the sidewalk, do the street, this is how much it costs, and you can set that up to where, say you have an HOA, like, hey, we want you to come in, here's what it would cost right now to get it done and put you up the way. So doing stuff like that, and just do it is the other thing being, hey, I want to consolidate applications, or a lot of people are going through app refactoring or tool consolidation projects right now. So I used to work with Lumen when I was at NetApp. The amount of applications that they were supporting, not just they were supporting, they would cost out how much it was to do the infrastructure per person. They'd have 4 applications that did the exact same thing, one of which is 3 times as much to run. So being able to take those down. But just really to show, you think about governmental agency, it takes a little bit of value to the citizens to be like, oh, the government's doing something for me, to feel that. Like just the operational efficiencies, being you as individual in that space, being able to gain from these efficiencies. So not just that, being able to take that data that's there, you have all the backups of that data. So we start talking about things like generative AI, building algorithms to say, hey, we're making decisions for the community that are based on actual data that we have that's in these different silos. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So, big thing, we see there's so many things out there today, and it's a very noisy space. From like, how many security vendors have you been approached by? Probably hundreds at this point. I went to RSA, and my favorite thing is you walk down the booths and it's like, what do you do? I'm in security. It's like, yeah, get it, but what do you do? So definitely harder than it needs to be. So with that, pass it on to Mitch.
Yeah, you can leave that slide.
Yep.
Up.
There you go.
Which button do I hit?
That one.
Not the big red button.
Don't blow it up.
That dissolves management. Thank you, guys. So actually, you got a couple of our leaders in the room too. But let's chat about business continuity. Let's chat about ransomware recovery. Everything of that sort. So first, I'm going to chat about a couple facts, right? And then we'll kind of jump into how Veeam could help make this easier for you and less complicated and not so stressful, right? So sure, there's growing infrastructure, complexity. There's the hybrid cloud. There's, as I run through the facts, you'll see how often everybody's hit with ransomware, how infrequently people really recover their data. Even if you pay, you don't really get to recover your data. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But this does not have to be hard, right? It actually could be easy if you design it correctly, right? So a lot of companies design their data recovery, their backup, so that it's easy to do the backup, right? So that the backup is basically, okay, I'm going to run it Friday night at 5 p.m. But guess what? What if it fails the next weekend? Tuesday at 11 p.m., right? You've lost 3.5 days worth of data. So that by itself, trying to recover lost data is a little bit of a disaster. Yes.
Terribly sorry to interrupt, but we have 3 vehicles blocking truck. So the vehicles need to be moved. There's a Ford pickup truck. 166-1139. 166-1139. There is a Jeep Arizona license plate. 4NA2A2A. Nobody? And there is a Honda SUV 70XU 987. Nobody here? Okay. Sorry.
That's all right. Give me more time. So,
I got you.
no, I'm just trying to, is this going backwards or forwards? I'm not really sure. So, okay, I get it now. Good to see you, Florence. So as I was chatting about this, it doesn't need to be that difficult. Recovery doesn't have to be another disaster, right? If you build your backups and your DR plan so that's easy for recovery, then you're confident that no matter what hits, whether it's an earthquake, a flood, or cyberware, right? A ransomware attack, you can recover it within moments and not lose any data. So that's the key thing, and that's what I'm hoping here to share with you, how we do that and how Veeam will help. I'm not going to provide a demo. That's not something that I would do well, right? If you like the information I'm sharing, we're going to move forward with one of our engineers and we'll work on the demo through an engineer, okay? So let's talk about some of the facts, right? Even if you pay your ransomware, only 25% of the people get their data back. Seriously, even if you pay the ransomware. That's a horrible fact, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to get your data back. So let's make sure you can back it up and it's recoverable and you don't have to pay the ransomware. That should be a great catch line that we're always using. Let Veeam help you not have to pay ransomware. And that's our true focus, right? If you think about it, only 16% of the people were able to get their data recovered without having to pay the ransomware. That's 74% of the people out there, right, are paying ransomware, and only 25% of them that paid got the data back. So paying, all right, math. Yeah, that's why he's always correcting me on my forecast. I'm just moving fast.
Well, I was also going to say, just you mentioned not getting your data back or data that isn't even pointed the right way. So we had a couple issues in Oakland where there was some kind of crazy crime. Neighbor had gotten pulled on her, all kinds of crazy stuff. The captain comes in, he's like, we only have 2 crimes in your neighborhood in 6 months. What do you mean? Here's 20 report, or here's 20 actual incidents that aren't there. And this was right after the ransomware attack. So 2 things. 1, your citizens are going to be like, what are you, like, what are you talking about? We know you're wrong. And it creates that. And 2, it creates that level of distrust in the government, which is something that is hard to recover from. It takes a long time to build that trust. So, but yeah, so that's way more than 74% in Oakland's case, just 20 to 2, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's good information. So the thought is, there's very few companies that haven't experienced ransomware, and it's going to continue to go. They're getting smarter while we're trying to protect them better. They're still getting smarter, right? And they're not getting arrested, right? So we're not going to be able to stop them, and they're getting paid. So it's a great business on their behalf, right? It's just not good for us, and maybe it might not seem correctly morally. So let's keep the ball rolling, right? So when you're having to recover from ransomware, how long is this normally making your company experience downtime, right? How long is it normally taking? The normal nature is it's going to take 3 weeks. And that also depends on your digital insurance, right? So if the police come in and your insurance company says, no, I need to confiscate this. I need to confiscate everything, right? So they can lock it and hold it. I mean, it's attorneys. It's the police department, right? Nothing negative on any of those fronts and those industries, but the chance of them having everything investigated, everything looked at, and handing it back to you within 3 weeks is very slim, right? I mean, we've all dealt with different situations with attorneys, and they move at their own pace, right? And if it's business data.
Valley too, sorry to interrupt.
It's
In Central Valley, there was a healthcare organization that got hit by a ransomware attack. Again, their cyber insurance policy required that they lock the data and not do the data. They were in the process of buying hardware, and they were going to finance it. Their finance systems were locked, so you couldn't get that data. So for a month, and this is, triage only, right? Are you gonna die? Okay, great, we'll take care of you. All elective surgeries are gone, all revenue generating components are gone, because it was locked down, because their cyber insurance, and they had to, not only did they lock that, they had to bring in the cyber insurance's digital forensics guy. And that's, so a month later, pretty big Central Valley hospital. So anyway, just like to throw examples out there to make it more relevant.
Well, the way I see it, I mean, if you pay the ransomware and I'm the criminal, what do I care about getting your data back or releasing it, right? I mean,
You assume they're morally and ethically,
yeah, exactly.
they're there to make money, they don't care.
Yeah.
When you look at the 3 weeks on average, one of the things that we stress, it's all about the recovery, right? How quick, how efficient, but it all starts with clean data. There's so many people that they don't have a tested solution, they put back into the environment, and it's reinfects the entire environment. So, Mitch is gonna go through some of the tools. How many of you guys are Veeam customers already? So probably like half the room. So I don't want to be redundant on that, but it's really, to me, it's about the clean data. We have some tools that you can test, you're sure, you're confident, it's documented, that you can show to your cyber insurance, you can show to your boss, because no one expects a disaster. And when we call disaster, people think like tornado, hurricane, whatever. Most of the disasters that we see are human, right? They're just something, someone clicked the button, forgot to back up something, like, a file. How many of you guys have had a file from a CEO like lost? I, had before, they're freaking out because it's the CEO. And then you make sure you have a plan. So go ahead, Mitch, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good conversation. So kind of as we were talking about that earlier, another one of our clients here in Northern California, a large judicial agency, they had a SQL database that, failed like 3 weeks back, right? And then they had backed up the data and they backed up the data, but they had never really tested it before, right? So when they found out, late Sunday night, Monday morning, that this application SQL database needed to be recovered, they were able to restore the database, right? All the data, but they had never really gone through the process of recovering the whole application and the server, and they had things that were out of sync. So then they had to do different restores at different times because they didn't have it built into the recovery system so that it would quiesce it. And when I was chatting with the gentleman, I said, hey, how did it work the last time you tested it? And he said, oh, well, we've never really tested it, right? And then, we kind of had a laugh both between ourselves. Says, I know, you're always telling me I need to be tested. Well, let's move forward. So now he's going to move to a different tier of the product so that he can test this automatically. He can document it. And it's not like, okay, I've got a backup. Now he's got a run book, right? And he can guarantee that the data can be brought up in a certain timely manner, right? So, for the longest time, as you guys are all IT and you are using Veeam, we've been talking 3, 2, 1. You need 3 copies of data, 2 different types of media, you want it offsite, right? But that's now engineering best practices. That's getting a little bit bigger, right? It's now 3, 2, 1, 1, 0, right? So the second one really is you want to have it, make sure that it's air gapped, right? I mean, we might have been air gapping for years just using straight tape and shipping it offsite to a vault, right? That is air gapped, right? But if you can put it locally or in the cloud on immutable capacity, right? Immutable storage, that's considered air gapped because it's the same concept as the tape sitting in a vault, right? Once, read many, right? So you can actually have that, right? And this is also part of what Veeam is bringing. I'm kind of teeing you up. We still are facts, but I'm teeing you up to what Veeam can do, right? So, and then now you can also test it. So that's what the 0 is means. So you have, when you're doing your restores and you're recovering it, you've tested it, you've got 0 faults. Everything recovers fine and nothing is broken, right? So that's what our best practice is going to help you touch. It's not so much that it's just, just data, just like your files or your email, but it's everything within your environment, right? So the key thing, I moved it. Okay, good. So the key thing is really when you're backing up your data, you want to be able to report on it, right? So as you're reporting on your data, you want to understand what's more critical, right? Sorry about that. I'm standing in front of that. Apologize on that. So as you're good point there. So as you're identifying what's more critical, right? Then you really know, okay, so I need this data. For sure the payroll data, I want to make sure I can recover that within minutes, right? And I want to be able to recover that within minutes at another location. Okay, and then with your maybe your test data, it might not be as important. I still want to be able to recover it because I don't want all that engineering time to be wasted, but it doesn't have to be as fast a capacity at the real site, right? I can just have it kind of come up phase 2. But what's nice about this, right, is as you're able to determine this data, then you'll know that when you get hit with some type of a disaster, ransomware, that you can truly be up within minutes or within hours and not have to wait for the full 3 weeks. You can have your current infrastructure still locked down by the legal hold, right, and the attorneys, but then you can still have your company up and running somewhere else, right? This is where Veeam is kind of helping, right? And as we're flowing through this, now we're also able to detect if you've got malware, right? So when you're doing a backup, at the right release, right, we can share with you that, hey, you've got malware, and we can flag it or identify it or put it into a hole, like into a sandbox, right? On your resource, right, we can actually do secure restore, right? We can share with you that your data has got ransomware in it and you don't want to really recover. We want to stop it. There's options, right? It could become manual or it could become automatic. And then that helps you determine how you're going to respond to this data, right? And then what's your proper recovery method, right? Because 99% of your restores could be clean, but you've just got one email, right? Or one drive, one bit of data that you got in OneDrive, right? Just set that aside, put it in a sandbox, let everything else recover, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with that, right? As long as you're building it correctly.
Hey, Mitch, one thing I do have a question. So when it comes to cyber resilience, we're seeing now the security teams and the infrastructure teams are now, for the first time in years, talking. Do you guys do that within your organizations? Or is some of these questions we're asking, is the security team involved in this kind of conversation?
For us, yeah, it is. Like when we meetings with Mitch and Veeam, we talked about the orchestrator, DR. Cybersecurity was in the meeting, and we're very impressed with some of the recovery features, the runbooks that you talked about, and the governance behind it, and reporting for the cybersecurity was pretty. So yeah, for us, they're the same thing.
Well, the other point is, like, if you ever struggle, and you guys know this better than I do, but if you ever struggle getting budget, I have found that if you include the security team, their budget seems to be a lot more easier to get than some of the other budgets. And so when you do the cyber resilience and you involve them, it might be easier for you to push things down so you get what you need and not necessarily have to use your budget for it. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it enough, like, I don't have money, and I talk to security guys, like, oh, it's going to lower our cyber insurance potentially? Yeah, we can go get that, whatever.
It's about 80%
Yeah.
within the last 2 years for cyber insurance policy, something like that.
So as we're kind of chatting about those cyber insurance policies, I will plug, the Veeam product. There's, as part of the solution, and as Roy was mentioning, there's in the recovery side, right? We standing in front of you again. So you got to get away from the wall. So you can actually have the system the whole Veeam solution, whether you're looking at, your email exchange, OneDrive, your general purpose files, no matter where those files are, local, in a cloud, Azure files, in AWS, at any of these hybrid locations, you can actually have these playbooks ran, right? Based upon your backup, then the recovery could run in a playbook. But what's nice about that too, then it can be fully documented, right? And as you are changing this on an every weekly basis, I mean, how many times you guys getting, I got this new server, right? And I got to back it up. Sometimes you can create tags within your system so that it automatically backs up based upon the domain name, right? But sometimes you might not catch it for a week or a month because no engineer told you about it, right? So you can, then that playbook gets dynamically updated, right? So as that's updated, then you can document it, right? And then as you're able to document it, then you can show to the insurance company that we're able to document this, we're testing it, and we're able to show them, so that enables you to check yes on all of your requirements for that digital insurance, right? Which, as Sean had mentioned, it does reduce your cost of digital insurance, especially if you can show them on the fly that you're testing this, right? So whether it's your exchange, whether it's your files, NAS files, physical, anything, whatever your environment looks like, is where we're able to help you out, okay? And if you want the process automated, that's fully done there too, right? So you can show your manager, like in the middle of the day on a Thursday, let's do a disaster recovery now, right? And you can do that at that moment without interrupting production, right? There's sandboxes that are created, right, for you to do that, okay? The key thing here in my mind, as I talked very first, is KIS, keep it simple, right? Or, keep IT simple, kind of nice, but keep it simple, right? So with a single user interface that Veeam can help you out with, right? And then the individual, componentry of that, right? You can actually have the whole backup, the restore, all simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? You can actually have it automated and fully functional in that sense, okay? The relentless security. So the thought process on that is, we'll be analyzing your data, right? We'll be putting the data on immutable storage. If it's not on immutable storage, we're going to continue to help you identify ways of getting into a more of an immutable state, right? So that's part of the responsibility, is help you guys get to that state, okay? And then recover anyway. That's simple for us, right? So wherever you have capacity, we're not forcing you to use a particular type of a model. Whether you're backing up local, you want to recover it in Azure because you got a price. Let's say you got a commitment to Amazon, right? You can recover it in Amazon, and you can fulfill that commitment also by utilizing Veeam, right? You got a commitment to Azure, you can fulfill your Amazon, that's new. Azure commitments. You can fulfill your Azure commitments, right, by utilizing Veeam too. So it helps your business in many different ways, but the key thing is to keep you guys up and running, okay?
The one thing I will say, a lot of the hackers are going right after your backup servers. With Veeam, as long as you have a copy in the cloud, another data center, you will always have access and be down. Some of our competitors, quite frankly, if your backup server is attacked, they're down until they can get that up and running.
So, yeah, as Jeff had mentioned, right? So let me keep on scrolling. Skip the slide. Oh, you know what it was? There's the deck there, and the other deck is off scene, but that's okay. Let's see before I go. Let's go back here. So before I jump into Veeam's approach, let's talk about who Veeam is, right? So we've been working with the deeper agencies within the government, right? So we're NIST certified all the way through. We're on the Department of Defense certified all the way through, right? So all of the government agencies you guys are carrying, that's how deep our certifications are. They're all the way up through there, right? So multiple government agencies that all of them are through-level academics, but we've got the hardened repositories. We fit with the ISO 2000. So, the key thing is if you're looking for something that's industry analyst certified for many years, we've been around for 17 years. We've got all those certifications. We're not just relatively new, 4 or 5 years in the industry. Okay, let's do, there they filled up. Yeah, they're all filled up. So the thought process is we like to take a 5-step approach to help you guys out, right? So it's not just slam it one method, we want to take control of the recovery, right? Kind of help you guys really understand what's occurring. That's why we want to help design the backup so that the recovery is simple, right? So we'll help you all the way through in that sense, right? So the other key thing is we're always going to be monitoring your data. So as we see that there might be malware on this backup, or we see that there could be ransomware on the recovery, we're going to alert you, right? You guys can determine how you want the alert. Do you want to be email, what, you want us to just automatically flag it and set it to the side, put it in the sandbox, and then alert you? So you guys get to choose all this, right? Is it something you want fully automated all the way through? Just continue and then move on to the others? That's the purpose of our automation, right? Make it simple for you that if you get woken up at 3 a.m. on a Friday night, you've had a nice evening because the Cowboys didn't lose, we'll, help you out to the evening. Go ahead. Go ahead, questions? Oh, okay, yeah. So, it's a plug on Veeam. I'll mention it real quick. I mean, we've been around for a long time. Number one in the industry for a while, right? We've been working really hard at this, right? We've been number one on the IDC Gartner group for 7+ years, right? Working really hard at that. We've got over 450,000 individual companies that rely on us for all the data and the backup, ransomware recovery worldwide. So it's not like we've been just starting this, right? You don't spend a lot of money on marketing, right? You'll notice our tchotchkes are what they are. But we do spend a lot of money on engineering, right? So we're always upgrading our product. Every 6 months, we've got a very, very strong next level release of the product based upon what we've learned and what all of our customers have mentioned, right? One of the newer things that we got coming out in our next 12.1 version will be the full automation of recovering your data and determining whether there's malware within the backup, right? So that's one of the key pieces there, right? Determining if there's malware. And then also we'll be able to report into any SIM, security modules that you need, via the APIs, right? So we're continually going down that path. Currently, right now, we just also brought out a complete backup as a service. So instead of you guys having to worry about what storage you're going to back up your Azure, your Office 365 to, we will actually help and do that for you all the way through, right? What's kind of nice about that also comes with cloud capacity unlimited, right? Unlimited cloud capacity behind there. So that's, you're not having to worry about Azure. You're not having to worry about, Zerto or whatever the cloud you're using, okay? Continue on through. 81% of the Fortune 500 companies are using us, right? That's large enterprise companies.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting and then you start to look at the Fortune 100. The Fortune 1000, we're at like 92%, right? So okay, thank you. I thought she was going to say something. She's telling me to shut up in 3 minutes. So it's actually a solid piece, right? Some alternatives say, oh, they're only an SMB company, or oh, they're only a, SMB caliber company. But when you really look at where we're at, installed around the world, and how we're helping these large companies that are running your credit cards and building your cars, and we're helping them stay afloat and run too. Okay.
Mitch, why don't you touch on the Net Promoter Score? If you're not familiar with that, that's actually a very high score. It's higher than Apple, higher than Google. 75 is basically showing customers are really happy with not only the product, but the support. Our support typically, don't quote me on, but we say that the phone can be answered in 2 to 5 minutes. Level 1, things get resolved pretty quick because things happen, right? There might be a little configuration you forgot to do in terms of best practices. Your backups are not going fully. Call our support and we get it. So our Net Promoter Score is actually something we're very proud of. And it kind of reflects we have over 350,000 customers worldwide. So having that kind of score kind of should give you guys confidence that the company will always help you if you have an issue.
And it's still growing, right? So we're not shrinking quarter over quarter. We're still growing 22% quarter over quarter, right? So that 450,000 still is increasing quarter over quarter, right? And the rankings within Gartner are getting better and better quarter over quarter, month over month. So this is really my one slide that talks about Veeam, right? So what's nice about this is it kind of shares with you that any of the bigger clouds that are out there, we're able to back up, recover to, right? Kubernetes, we really focus on containers. So we have, a product that actually is number one in the industry on the backup containers for, over 5 years. So if you guys are doing any application development on your own, you're using Kubernetes, you use containers, we should chat about how do you back that up. If you're starting to do it in the cloud and you say, oh my God, it costs so much to keep running an EC2, I need to bring it on site. We can easily migrate that for you, just with 2-button approach, by using, Veeam to help you have that, or move it into the cloud or between clouds, right? You move from Amazon over to Azure, you got commitments, we can make that scoot for you and help you meet that in the space. But so that's cloud, so virtual. So all of the hypervisors out there, we can back them up. If you're using VMware, you've been using it for a long time, right? You can actually, thank you. If you're using VMware and you've been using it for a long time, and now you want to move over to Hyper-V because it costs less money, that's just a backup and a recover for us, or a migrate, you know? And then we're talking about the physical servers, all the way back to old AIX, and then you go to all the different applications and software as a service. We are tightly integrated with all the largest ones that are out there. The databases, SQL, Oracle, Salesforce, right? So Microsoft 365, all of those. We're the number one backups for all of those currently at the moment. Okay? And I know I ran over a little bit. Sorry about talking too much.
Yeah, sure.
But any questions for anything I've said, anybody?
Backup as a service would be.
Yeah.
There'd be some workloads that we want to just turn key in.
Yeah. I'll get that one.
And
Yeah.
if you containerize
Right
the,
now, it's only.
Yeah, correct.
And that's the one that that's the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah. Sure.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I know what you're looking for.
You guys good? The time went off. I had 92 more slides. So good to get started. Thank you, everybody.
the-
Appreciate it.